What it is, everybody. Another day, another dollar. Only the dollar is not going to be worth much pretty soon. Gosh darn. If only predictions wouldn't come true. What it is, everybody, it is Tuesday, January 27th. We have a story with taco in the title. Taco means Trump always chickens out, which he does, actually. It actually came from financial traders. The taco trade, that's where it came from, because he always chickens out on tariffs, but he always chickens out on pretty much everything after the heat gets to be too strong. And he's sort of chickening out in Minneapolis, which I don't think is necessarily bad. I'm just saying Trump always chickens out, which is fine. We like Trump. We like Trump. I actually do kind of like him. He's sensible sometimes. He's being sensible kind of now, maybe at the direction of Melania. The Melania movie is out. Apparently it's bombing horrifically. Horrific bombing of the Melania movie. I don't know if you guys are going out to see it. I saw something that said they spent $35 million on advertising in the United Kingdom and sold one ticket. That's what I saw, but who knows? Trump is not popular. He did a rally today anyway. I tuned in for it. Trump says that he doesn't want house prices to come down at all. He wants house prices to stay high. So I don't know how people feel about that. I don't have that clip, but I'm sure it's out there because I hadn't had a chance to see the clip of it, but I heard it live. Kevin says, is it finally here? It is kind of finally here. The collapse of America. Donald Trump is only unfortunate to be president while it happens to a certain extent. He will be the fall guy because 3 more years, with the next 3 years, are not going to get a lot better for people economically. Unless you have gold and silver, which hopefully you do because you've been listening to this show. And maybe you bought Bitcoin a long time ago and you can still sell it for a profit and buy gold and silver. And maybe Bitcoin will go up too. That's possible if you want to hold onto it. Maybe it'll still go up. It's supposed to. It was designed specifically for times like this. It's just that it's sort of, your people are poking it with a stick, waiting for it to do something. But gold was up today. Silver was up today. Dollar was down today. It looks like the end is near. The end is nigh, I believe they say. Stock market hit a record high today. Gold hit a record high today at the same time. Dollar's the lowest it's been in 4 years so far. Had one of the worst days I've ever seen, especially after Trump said the dollar is doing great. So I have that clip. Going to talk about Minneapolis. The title says taco, like I said, which means he chickened out. Oh, hopefully the volume is better today between me. I'll turn this down even further. Want to make sure our balance is correct. It sounds like he chickened out on Minneapolis in the sense that he's not going to go as hard. And so for people on the extreme right, oh boy, extreme. I don't want to call people extremists. We are headed towards civil war. According to Ray Dalio, we are in phase 5 of the collapse of an empire. Phase 6 is when we get civil war. So we are getting close. There are communists. I said that the protests weren't necessarily funded, but they're certainly organized. Well, apparently they are kind of funded by communist organizations. We may have a communist general strike coming up on Friday. That's a communist tactic. But I don't necessarily disagree with it. Apparently, there might be a general strike coming up this Friday. So we have to look into that. That means nobody goes to work and they try to crash things that way by not participating in capitalism. You bring the country to its knees. And that's all over ICE and Border Patrol killing people. killing Americans at least, and deporting illegals. So what are we going to do? Are we going to keep deporting illegals? Kind of, but not so much. Not as much as Stephen Miller wants to, it looks like. So I'll try to justify my title, which says that he chickened out in Minneapolis. That's what it looks like. That's what the reporting is for the most part. It looks like they will be withdrawing troops, the stormtroopers, from Minneapolis pretty soon. And even Mayor Fry is optimistic that that's what's going to happen. It looks like we will still go after illegals a little bit, but only the bad ones, it looks like. So I'll show you the news that justifies that. It looks like we're going back to the original promise, which was to get rid of the bad hombres. For a while, they were focused on everyone, and this deportation theater, this cruelty theater that's been going on at the direction of Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller and Greg Bovino, that looks like it may be coming to an end. And we're just going to get the criminals and the murderers, etc. It looks like. So I'll show you the news to justify my title for this show. We'll talk about the collapse of the dollar. We'll talk about how the whole world is turning on us, but we have been talking about that. I said it, Trump is not at fault, but he is kind of, in the sense that the world no longer trusts America. And that has a lot to do with the tariff threats. We're threatening more tariffs now because the investment deals, which Trump keeps talking about, aren't coming to fruition. A lot of countries promise to do things to make us lower tariffs, but probably now they're thinking, oh, the Supreme Court's going to get rid of the tariffs anyway, so we don't really need to follow through on our promises, which were never written down anyway or signed or anything. Trump says 18 trillion, but that's a meaningless number, which is based on promises that aren't written anywhere. So it looks like that 18 trillion might not show up, but Trump is threatening to tariff somebody else. So we'll see. Dollar collapse. I'll show you the charts. Lowest in 4 years. Gold up, silver up, never ending parabolic rise. It looks like the end, except that the stock market is at an all-time high. The S&P 500 hit an all-time high again today, but that may or may not last. May or may not. We don't know for sure. We don't know the future. We have some reports on the silver market as far as you guys, as far as being able to sell it. It looks, we have some reports from stress in the silver buyer market. So I'll just report on that for people who have bought silver, who have a lot of silver, who are thinking about selling silver, what the situation is out there. Apparently, a lot of places are overwhelmed at the moment and may not want to buy your silver depending on what it is and how much of it you have. So I will report on that so people are aware of what happens when you own these physical things that people say to buy and have physically. Sometimes it's actually difficult to unload them, which I told you guys about before. So, all right. So that's the show. We're going to talk about the show. We're going to play you guys some more Second Amendment stuff. More guns are bad from Donald Trump. A lot of stuff from Donald Trump today. He was all over the news today, and he gave a speech today. And if I look for it, I might even be able to find some quotes from his speech. His speech was much shorter than usual today, which I appreciated, in Iowa. All right. So thanks for joining me for the show. We will play our intro. We will grift. We will continue. Thank you. Okay. Cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman. And I bring you the news, the real news.
We need to unify. I'm calling for unity. I know my husband, the president, had a great call yesterday with the governor and the mayor, and they're working together to make it peaceful and without riots. I'm against the violence, so if you protest in peace. And we need to unify in these times. We need to unite.
First of all, when these people come out and go, Tim's a bootlicker for defending us, I'm like, no, you misunderstand. It's my boots. It's mine. I voted for them. I'm wearing the boot. I'm stomping on the ground. I ain't licking anybody. I'm clapping for these people that I said, please go out and enforce the law. And anybody else who's cheering for it, who voted for it too, we're all wearing the boots. You're the one crying. You're the one saying, you're coming. First of all.
Wonderful. Tim Pool, such a tough guy. He's wearing the boots. He's not just licking the boots. Well, the boots are going to stop stomping, which will probably upset people like Tim Pool. Looks like the boots are going to stop stomping. So, and the boots don't like us to have guns either. So we'll talk about that. So yeah, that's Tim Pool. He says he's not a bootlicker. He's actually wearing the boot as he sits behind his camera and so forth. Protesters in the streets, many of them are communists. They are funded by communists. I don't like communists. I understand they are funded protests to some extent. We want to make sure to report all the news. It has been reported that the funding has been identified. Some of it's coming from overseas. Much of it is coming from communist groups. There are many communists in their ranks. That doesn't mean they're all communists. And just because they're organized, which they are, doesn't mean they're all paid. But it seems like there is financing, some of it from overseas, some of it from Chinamen, to foment a communist revolution in this country, which we are opposed to. However, I'm also opposed to the way ICE and the Border Patrol in particular have been doing enforcement of what Tim Pool claims is the law. Hodad says, communism, capitalism is good cop, bad cop. Well, capitalism is actually wonderful for people if they understood it, if we used it correctly, which we don't. We use fake money. We use a blend. We have been for quite some time using a blend of communism and capitalism, but that blend is about to fail. And that is being indicated to us in the collapse of our currency and probably the collapse of all fake fiat currencies. And we will now eventually return to real money, which is in our Constitution, which our founders knew about because Adam Smith was writing his famous books right around 1776 about capitalism, about the hidden hand, about how it all works. And they knew gold and silver were good and money was real. And we made a very bad decision because we like war and we like socialism. Actually, we are a half socialist country already, which is why our capitalism is failing. All right, so that's news for everybody. Hope that's fair news. Regarding, just to be fair and report 100% of the facts, the guy that got killed, Alex Pretty, it is being reported that he was involved in a previous incident with ICE. And many people are reporting that as if to say that, oh, he probably actually deserved it then. I think that's the way the reporting is meant to be read to some extent, is that because he was a known entity who had interacted with ICE before and apparently had his rib broken during another protest, because he is a known protester, perhaps he deserved it more. Perhaps that changes the story. So I want to report on it. He was involved, apparently, reportedly, in a previous protest where he was trying to interfere in some way by blowing a whistle or being loud while ICE was chasing people, which can be legal to blow whistles and to be loud and to honk horns, as long as you don't actually put your body in the way. He got tackled apparently and broke a rib apparently, and is on and apparently was known, they say in quotes, known to feds. But I will say he wasn't arrested. So it's not clear that he actually was ever interfering with ICE or Border Patrol, because if he were interfering for real, that would be a felony, they say, and he would have been arrested for that. So much of what ICE and Border Patrol is doing is harassing and attacking people who are being annoying and in a way interfering, but maybe in a mostly legal way. And that is the part of the thing they do that I don't agree with. So apparently, though, he was involved in a protest previously. Apparently, he was tackled and hurt before previously, but he was not arrested. So it's not clear that he actually has ever done anything illegal. And there's nothing in the video of what he was doing before he was executed that shows that he was doing anything illegal, in this reporter's opinion. So that's the news on Preti, Alex Preti, the nurse from the VA. All right. So one of the things that Donald Trump, okay. So what they said and what I focused my last episode was on the speech coming from the government, from Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, and Stephen Miller, which were lies about Alex Preti, which was widely agreed, even amongst conservatives, many conservatives, that it was problematic. Oh, and many DHS agents, Border Patrol agents, ICE agents that are being reported on say that it was hurtful to them that the government lied about Alex Preti and said that he was an assassin, that he was planning to massacre law enforcement, that he was a domestic terrorist. Apparently, it's being reported that language came from Stephen Miller. That's the report, is that language came from Stephen Miller. To me, from my observation point, it seems to me that Stephen Miller is the worst influence inside of the Trump organization, and apparently has been behind a lot of the policies, including his wife posting the thing about Greenland. Stephen Miller seems the most belligerent, possibly racist individual inside the administration. He's the one who wants actually demographic change to come as a result of the deportations, and doesn't want just the bad hombres to be out, but actually wants to get legal immigrants out as well. So he apparently has been a part of the driving force behind the performative cruelty that we've seen, trying to get, and they've captured quite a few legal immigrants, taking them to these camps and interrogate them to see if they can find a way to kick them out of our country. And the 5-year-old that's in question who was detained, his father was here legally and they still were transported to a holding facility in Texas from Minneapolis together, and they're being held there now. So, which I don't think they're allowed to do. Actually, constitutionally, they're actually not allowed to do. They're going after a lot of people without deportation orders that aren't criminals, et cetera. And that's what looks like it's about to change. And maybe Melania is behind it. We started with a clip of Melania. So that's the news, though, is Stephen Miller was behind those lying statements. And he was the one who said the worst thing, which was that the guy was an assassin. He said the guy was an assassin looking to do maximum damage and so forth. So apparently he's the guy that was behind it. So as far as I'm concerned, he needs to be gone, that guy, for things to get better. Okay. Second Amendment, no less than 3 times today, Donald Trump said that Alex Preddy shouldn't have had a gun. No less than 3 times, which you're allowed to do. You are allowed, which the NRA is upset about, Gunners of America, the Boogaloo Boys, a wide range of libertarians and anarchists disagree with, and some Republicans too, some regular Republicans too, disagree with these statements that say that the guy should not have had a gun because he didn't wave it at anybody. He didn't interfere with law enforcement. He didn't break the law in any way. And in my opinion, he didn't even resist arrest, in my opinion, but you can have a different opinion. It looked like he was just mobbed, beaten, and executed, mobbed, beaten, disarmed, and then executed. It didn't appear that he broke any laws of any kind. Here is Trump saying it the first time today.
Sir, was Mr. Preddy acting as an assassin? Do you think he was acting as an assassin in Minneapolis?
Who is that?
Mr. Preddy, your deputy chief of staff said that. You don't think so?
With that being said, you can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns.
What about the Second Amendment?
Listen, you can't walk in with guns. You can't do that. But it's just a very unfortunate incident.
Sir, was Mr. Preddy?
You can't have guns. You can't walk in with guns. But he disagrees with the assassin comment. If you want to support the show, I forgot to grift. If you want to support the show at any time, go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil to drop the equivalent of a super chat until we get reanimated by YouTube. We are still classified as a harmful channel, which is not monetized. So you can get around that by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil, dropping virtual coffees and leaving a note. And I read those before the end of every show. buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. You can also go to Cash App, which uses I use $LTV411, Lift the Veil 411, LTV411. You can also buy our t-shirts, which are on liquidation sale. They're completely inflation free. They're stuck in 1975 inflation era. $10 and $5 t-shirts and one sweatshirt, which is $20. You can get those. We have our Question Everything design still in stock. We have our Bitcoin and crypto future shirts and HODL shirts. Some of those are $5. Some are $10. They're male and female styles. You can get your Freedom of Faith shirts, which were made in America with American cotton during the mask days, for $5. And they even come in a kid's size, Freedom of Faith with a nice smiley face. You can get your Last American Vagabond shirts because we partnered with him. And many female designs here at the bottom of the page. Lift the Veil, Question Everything in 6 different styles of female, 7 different styles of female. So, and they're really nice. Bella and Canvas. I think almost all of them are Bella and Canvas. Ladies, if you know that, it's a good brand. Really nice, high quality, screen printed, made to last, made to be comfortable. Truthclothing.io load up while we still have your size in stock. This is a closeout, going out of business sale, which will go on until we are completely sold out, ideally. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Truthclothing.io. Thank you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, that was the first time he said it about guns. He said it again here at a diner, I believe. He went to a diner before his speech in Iowa today.
The assessment from some of your own officials that Alex Preddy is a domestic terrorist or an assassin?
Well, I haven't heard that, but certainly he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. But hey, look, bottom line, everybody in this room, we view that as a very unfortunate incident. Okay, right. Everyone, unless you're a stupid person, very, very unfortunate incident. I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff. And despite that, I say that's a very unfortunate.
Very sensible. Very sensible, except for the gun part. Very sensible. So it would have been better if the administration came out and followed Trump's guidelines. I'm not sure who's running PR for the White House. Almost everybody agrees it was a disastrous PR campaign to come out and label Alex Preddy as a domestic terrorist, as a would-be assassin who is trying to do maximum damage. So he was asked the question again, almost exactly the same answer. It's okay to bring guns. It's okay if they're loaded. It's okay to have magazines. That's normal in America. We're American, goddammit. It's okay to do that. He doesn't like it because he doesn't really like guns, and he's not really, he was a Democrat actually before. So here he is again, saying exactly the same thing. So.
The entire country is talking about what happened this past weekend in Minnesota. You've already spoken about it. Everyone watching has seen the video. Everyone has an opinion. I'm curious what you thought when you first saw that video.
Well, I think the whole thing is terrible. I don't like the fact that he was carrying a gun that was fully loaded and he had 2 magazines with him, and it's pretty unusual. But nobody knows when they saw the gun, how they saw the gun, everything.
And the entire country.
Once again, so I played it for you 3 different times today. He said he didn't like that he had a gun, but that's no reason to kill him. And I think he wants an investigation. I think he was upset probably by seeing it. I think that's why he's making a taco turn on Minneapolis, which we're about to cover. The taco turn on Minneapolis, which is that we'll just be going after the bad guys from now on. Let's talk a little bit about the dollar. You like seeing charts? Do you like to see charts? This is the dollar index. I will remove your comments. It looks nasty in that chart, how far it's dropped in the last few days. It started with Japan, which I've insisted on talking about. Japan has problems and they're exporting their problems to the rest of the world. Japan, the currency was falling too fast in a way that was bad for the whole world, because if they wanted to intervene and support their own currency, this is the reason why that we're interested in the Japanese yen not falling too far, because if Japan wanted to intervene and support their own currency, they would have to sell dollars. And that would make, they would have to sell their treasuries, which would make our interest rates go up, which they are doing, and which they were doing before this intervention. So back around, oh, you can't see my pointer. Let's see. Can you? There, you can see my pointer. Around this day, a few days ago, we made a phone call asking for a rate check on the dollar versus Japanese yen, signifying that we might print dollars to buy Japanese yen, which would make the yen stronger and make the dollar weaker, which it did immediately. The yen is getting stronger. The dollar is getting weaker. Today was the worst day, as you can see in this daily chart. Today was the worst day so far and it appears that the collapse is accelerating. The dollar was down versus other bullshit currencies. Now recognize, versus other bullshit currencies, which is one way to measure the collapse of the dollar. The other is with the price of gold or silver. But against other bullshit fiat currencies, which are also going to go to zero, the dollar dropped 1.26% today, which is a lot for a currency. This is the daily chart, and apparently this big candle down, this big red candle down, was right after Trump said what I was about to play. So after Trump said this.
Value of the dollar. Do you think it's declined too much?
No, I think it's great. I mean, the value of the dollar. Look at the business we're doing. No, dollar's doing great. You know, it's very interesting. If you look at China and Japan, I used to fight like hell with them because they always wanted to devalue their yen. You know that? The yen and the yuan. And they'd always want to devalue it. They devalue. And I said, not fair that you devalue because it's hard to compete when they devalue. But they always fought, no, our dollar's very good.
It's good. And some people say stocks will go up. And that might be one of the reasons stocks went up today. It's good for American companies if the dollar goes down, like Jewel Lightheart is saying. For American companies, especially American companies that make things for export, and maybe even farmers and stuff too, if the dollar is lower compared to other bullshit currencies, then other bullshit countries can buy our stuff for less because our dollar is worth less. So actually it can be good, and that's what he's saying. He's saying, oh, well, it's good. But that indicated to people that he doesn't care about it. And I would just say overall, I have a few reports on it. If the whole world starts selling our stuff, we're screwed, especially Japan, China, and Europe in particular, which has a lot of our stuff. So we are being prepared for slaughter. We depend on other countries believing in the dollar because they have so many of them. And they have to want to buy our debt for us to continue because we run $2 trillion deficits. So that's the US dollar index. So that's one way to measure the collapse of the price of the dollar. Another way to measure it would be in gold, which is almost $5,200 now. So this is the 15-minute chart for gold. It's over $5,200. And just a few days ago, it was $5,000. I told you guys I sold my Bitcoin for gold, right? So I mostly have gold. Gold is what I like right now. And silver. I bought some silver today too, but not real silver, fake silver. But this is the chart of, let's go even longer. This is another way to measure the dollar's collapse versus something real, which is gold. Just imagine this chart upside down, and that would be the collapse of the dollar in reality versus things that are real. And this would be the reason why things are so expensive, like houses and everything else. If the dollar continues to collapse, we could have hyperinflation, in which case gold will go to $20,000. Here's the long chart. It's accelerated, as you can see. This is a weekly chart that goes back to 2017. Let's look at the max chart. There's the max chart going back to 1971 when we started this experiment. As you can see, things are accelerating. If you want to look at something really crazy, you can look at silver, which is what I originally told people to buy before I knew about Bitcoin. Here is the max chart of silver. Silver is actually almost a vertical line. If it goes up any faster, it will start going backwards in time. So it's at $112 right now. And this is the chart going back to 1971. Warning, if you buy it, you might not be able to sell it. That's your warning for today. If you buy it, be ready to hold on to it forever. Because right now you might have a lot of difficulty selling it, which is what I warned you about when I unfortunately sold almost all of my physical silver, because I was informed that when the price does things like this, everybody wants to sell, and there aren't necessarily enough people who want to buy to balance the equation. So when I went to sell my stash, the first of all, they gave me a price that wasn't very good for my junk silver, my old American coins. And then there was a limit to how much they would buy. The first coin shop I sold to, they would only buy, they bought $1,200 worth. That was the most they would buy. And I had more than that. So when you go to sell, when the price is pumping, they might be maxed out on their credit cards or credit lines or whatever they use, because everybody else is also selling their silver right now. So many people are complaining that they can't sell, or that they can't sell for anything close to the quoted price, which right now is $112.77. Some dealers are still buying, but some are setting minimums. So some dealers are still buying. I think JM Bullion is still buying online. I mean, you can still sell. I'm not here to scare you. You can, but just be aware that it could get worse. Right now, dealers are under a lot of strain and they have too much inventory. And they're saying if they buy, some dealers are saying you can only sell $5,000 worth minimum, or only buy $5,000 worth minimum right now. So the market is kind of freezing up on this physical end. So just be aware when you buy physical, it might be impossible to sell locally for cash, which means you can do it online, which takes a while, might take them a while to pay you. Some dealers are saying they can't guarantee the price. Some dealers are hitting you back 10, 20% of spot to buy your stuff right now, which is just why I recommend buying silver that's easy to sell, like American Eagles. That's all. I recommend just like bars, rounds, even foreign coins. Foreign coins are okay, but really what people want and what's the easiest to move and what you're going to have the least difficulty moving is going to be American Eagles, silver American Eagles, which you always pay the most for, but you'll always be compensated the best for them too. So people are having trouble selling things like 100-ounce bars and stuff like that. So just to be aware. But yeah, this is the collapse of the dollar in another chart. Just imagine it upside down. And that is why many people are saying we may be we are just getting closer to an actual financial crisis. That's all. That's what gold and silver, they're warning that we're getting close to a financial crisis, which is why I shorted the banks yesterday, the regional banks myself. The International Monetary Fund, this is reported today. The International Monetary Fund is preparing for the possibility of a rapid sell-off of US dollar denominated assets, according to the managing director of the IMF, Kristalina Georgieva. That's being reported today, that the IMF is preparing for a rapid sell-off. If people lose, the dollar is made on faith. It's backed by actual faith, like religious faith. That's why people have dollars and save them, is because they have faith. It's also guns and it's also oil, but really it's a belief. All money in the whole world ever since 1971 is based on belief. Even Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin, because it's not real, it's belief that people will want it. That's all. It's like a belief that people will want to pay more for it in the future, or at least close to the same in the future. Because it's built on faith and not anything real since 1971, when it was based on gold, which is real, and you can at least make jewelry with it. And it's a decent conductor. It doesn't rust like silver. Silver, okay, silver is these are elements that are limited, scarce, divisible, somewhat transportable, although silver is more difficult than gold. These are all the things that make money. Scarcity, divisibility, convertibility, portability. Bitcoin is better than everything at most of those things. The only difference is it's not real. It's everything the best money can be. Bitcoin is. It's better than everything. It's just that it's not real. And people, for the last year or so, have shown a preference for things that are real. Bitcoin is better at all those things because it's maximally portable, maximally divisible, convertible to any currency. You don't have to melt it. You don't have to. The only thing is you can't make earrings out of it, basically, if you're in a pinch. But otherwise, it's better than everything, and theoretically should be mooning and should have been for the last year. It's just not. Bitcoin is at cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is at $89,000, $89,200, where it's been about the same for a while. Hasn't really gone up. It isn't doing really anything. Theoretically, it's the best. It's just that it's not real. That's the only difference. It's just that it's not real. And for some reason, people prefer things that are real right now. Silver is the best conductor on earth. People want it for different reasons than they want gold. Gold is a monetary thing. Silver is an industrial commodity, which gets used. Gold, all the gold in the world will probably be here forever. This is one of the differences. All the gold in the world will probably exist forever. It always gets recycled. When you die, they'll probably take your fillings out and steal your gold. It is always recovered and recycled, so it remains. They dig up more, so it has inflation a little bit. And we don't know how much there is, and we might be able to get it off asteroids. That's why it's not as good as Bitcoin in terms of scarcity. Bitcoin has the best scarcity because it's strictly limited to 21 million. Gold is not strictly limited, and we could theoretically find more, especially if we get it from outer space. But otherwise, it is a good conductor which never tarnishes. It's a good conductor. Silver is the best conductor. Silver is required for technology, solar panels, electric cars, AI. It's the best conductor on earth, and it's an element, and you can't synthesize it out of nothing so far. We might also be able to synthesize it out of nothing in the future. They actually synthesized gold in CERN already for a fraction of a millisecond. They created gold from maybe lead or something, just like the alchemists wanted to do forever. We are close to being able to do some kind of alchemy with nuclear fission and stuff too. They can make some kind of gold derivative somehow. It's possible, which is bad for the value of gold. But anyway, silver, though, tarnishes over time. So if you use it as a conductor, eventually it tarnishes and doesn't conduct as well over time. Gold never tarnishes. Gold doesn't tarnish. So that's one difference elementally. But silver gets used up. Silver gets used up and discarded and not recycled, which is why the supply of silver is tighter than the supply of gold. It's harder to dig up. There are no such thing as silver mines. Believe it or not, there are no silver mines. It's a byproduct of mining other things like copper. Hard to produce more. It's used up. They turned into paste to use on solar panels, and then it doesn't get recycled. It doesn't get recovered. So it just gets lost forever. So that's silver. Silver has a structural deficit. We use more than we create every single year, and we have for many years. And that is why it's undergoing a dramatic repricing at this time, silver. It's because we use more of it than we create every single year, and we have for at least the next 5 years or something. And the supply is limited and running out. It also can be used as money. Gold is regarded as money equivalent by central banks. Silver so far isn't. If they start creating strategic reserves of silver, that is a bullish thing for silver. The ratio of the price of silver to gold historically was much closer to 1 to 10 or 1 to 15. And it was, before its latest run, about 1 to 100 to gold, and now is about 1 to 50 by doing simple math. It's about 50 to 1 ratio to gold. And people who think silver can still go much, much higher, like $600, say that if it returns to its old ratio, like 15 to 1, then it'll be $500-600, especially if gold continues to go up. So those are some facts for you guys. But that's why silver is pumping more than gold, because actually the supply-demand situation is much worse for silver, or better if you want the price to go up. But silver also historically crashes too. It pumps and dumps. Every time it's pumped like this, it's also crashed spectacularly. But I bought some. I still think it's good. Gold is probably going to be a lot more stable. That's all. And if there's an economic downturn, silver will fall more than gold. That's all. It'll fall more. So that's all. But I recommend both, and maybe Bitcoin too. But Bitcoin, you can do you should dollar cost average into Bitcoin, because it could go a lot lower than it is right now. Oh no. I had this video clip about the US dollar collapse, but it's 17 minutes long. So I'm not going to tell it to you. I will read the quote from the tweet about the dollar collapse. How are they buying it? This is foreigners. Well, they buy it by printing money, the dollar. Foreigners buying the dollar. Well, they buy it by printing money. The artificial demand for dollars around the world is largely due to the fact that 60% of central banks have the dollar sitting in reserves. If the dollar isn't there because nobody wants to use the dollar, we're screwed. All that artificial demand for dollars disappears and we crater. We're not going to be able to pay Medicare, and we're adding $1 trillion of debt every 100 days. You know, our government is paying more interest on our debt, over $1 trillion in interest alone, which goes up this year quite a bit. We're paying more in interest, just in interest to service our debt, than we are paying for the Defense Department. People start losing faith in the dollar. We see huge amounts of inflation, perhaps hyperinflation. So I'm concerned about deflation and inflation, actually. We could go either way. You want to have cash too. Consumer confidence is the lowest it's been in 11 years, even though the stock market is the highest it's been ever. The S&P, at least today, the Dow Jones was down, but the S&P was up to its highest ever today. Consumer confidence is the lowest in 11 years. Okay, so that's our talk about economics. Trump says that people aren't even complaining about affordability anymore. Believe it or not.
$4.50 just a year ago, a year and a half ago. You look at eggs, you look at groceries, it's all down. Everything's come down. Do you notice they don't mention affordability anymore? That's like an old-fashioned word. They brought up affordability, but they were the ones that caused it. I didn't cause it. I came in, prices were way too high. We had the highest inflation in the history of our country. 48 years, they say. I say the history. But we had the highest, let's say in 48 years, the highest inflation. Prices were way high. Now I've got the prices down, and they're going down still further. $4.50 just...
According to various measures, prices are still going up. The Fed meets tomorrow to decide on interest rates, and I think they're going to hold them steady. Normally, high interest rates is bad for gold. We're experiencing a time when interest rates are going up and gold is going up at the same time, which is the sign of fiscal stress or loss of faith in our credit. We need foreigners. The thing about our deficits is we require foreigners to continue having faith in our dollar because they have to continue to lend us money. All of those, the deficits, we run $2 trillion a year, maybe more than that. We have to be lent that money by other countries who have to think that the debt they're buying won't collapse in value. But when interest rates go up and the dollar goes down, the value of the debt goes down, and gold, on the other hand, keeps going up in value. So gold, normally, when interest rates go up, people don't buy gold because high interest rates means a high return. You're actually making money off of the debt you buy, which gold you don't make money off of. There's no way to earn interest off of gold. But if the price keeps going up, that's just as good. And that's what's happening right now. So interest rates are going up and gold is going up and the dollar is going down all at the same time. Economic collapse incoming. Thank you. All right. Taco truck. Let's see. Not me says maybe Powell will spite hike. Somebody bet that they would hike rates tomorrow if Bitcoin doesn't like high interest rates. Bitcoin hasn't been going up while interest rates are going up. If they don't reduce interest rates, or if even if they do reduce interest rates might not go down. The long-term interest rates. You can take short-term interest rates to 0%, thinking that it will reduce the cost of mortgages and stuff, which is what Trump really wants. But it might not do that if people don't want to buy our debt, because the only thing the Fed can do is reduce short-term interest rates unless they do financial engineering and yield curve control, which involves just massive amounts of money printing, which is also good for gold and also good for Bitcoin. So gas is kind of going up. Gas is going up again, at least around here. If the dollar goes down, oil gets more expensive. Gas prices could go up again. We might experience hyperinflation, just like Weimar Germany. All right. That is my treatise on the economy, gold, silver, etc. I suggest you buy some. If you're worried, I suggest you buy some. And if you want to buy gold fractionally, like the way I've been doing it, you can buy fractions of gold. Gold is very expensive. That's one of the problems with it, to buy physical gold. If you buy small amounts of physical gold, you always pay a higher premium for it. So if you want to buy a little bit of gold, I can teach you how to do that. You can text me at 650-GAY-TAXI. I can consult with you, or you can ask AI. But you can buy it off the grid, off the books, on the Ethereum blockchain, and you can buy small amounts of fake gold. although it is apparently backed by real gold, tokenized gold, I should call it. And you can also buy stocks. You can also just buy stocks like I've been doing with silver. You can buy, I think it's called GLD, the fake gold ETF, which might just be fine, really. Physical is nice, but physical can be problematic. So you can just buy $10 worth of a stock if you want. It's probably worth it. That's all. It's probably worth it. Think of it as insurance. Just think of it as insurance in case the dollar collapses. All right. If you can afford it. All right. Donald Trump. Yeah, on immigration, the taco turn. Okay. So here are the latest things on immigration. Democrats say they're going to impeach Kristi Noem. Kristi Noem, the bad immigration people are Kristi Noem, Greg Bovino, and Stephen Miller. And maybe Stephen Miller is the ringleader of the bad people. The Democrats want to get rid of Kristi Noem. Trump is still defending Kristi Noem. He isn't tacoing on Kristi Noem yet. Here's that proof.
I have, yeah. I think she's doing a very good job. The border is totally secure. You know, you forget. We had a border that I inherited where millions of people were coming through. Now we have a border where no one is coming through. They come into our country only legally. So you have to remember those things. You know, people forget as soon as you accomplish something, it goes into history and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We had a border that caused all of this problem. Biden caused, and the Democrats caused this problem. They allowed tens of millions of people to come in. Many of them were murderers. Many were drug dealers, drug addicts, people from mental institutions. They allowed these people to violate our country, to come into our country. And that's what we're talking about. So if you remember, we had a horrible border, the worst border we've ever had, ever in history. People were flowing through by, we think, 25 million people, not to mention drugs and everything else. And that border is absolutely closed.
He likes to remind people of that. It's true. People forget easily. He did close the border. He should get credit for that. We have zero illegal immigration across our southern border right now, which is good. He supports Kristi Noem. That's the point of that. Bovino, though, is being pulled out of Minnesota. This is Trump on Bovino, who seems to me, I mean, he does look like a Nazi, to be fair. He does kind of look like a Nazi. He is being, and he said the thing that apparently Stephen Miller told him to say, but he is the least sympathetic to Americans or anybody who's getting abused by ICE and Border Patrol. And he's the Border Patrol guy. Apparently Trump is shipping him out of Minnesota. So that's part of the taco. Bovino is being shipped out.
Why? Why do they feel so emboldened?
You have to go throughout the whole country. You know, we have done so much work throughout the whole country. We don't have any problem. The only one we have is Minnesota. And we're in a lot of different places. New Orleans, we're in the governor of Louisiana called they have a big problem in New Orleans. And we went there. We've cut the crime by 67% in 4 weeks. It'll be down to practically nothing soon. Washington, D.C., we don't have problems. Like, you know,
right.
We've cut it down from a lot. It was very bad. It was terrible. People go to Washington to look at the Lincoln Monument and they end up getting whacked or whatever, killed in some cases. Numerous killings. That's a beautiful, safe place now. Memphis, Tennessee, one of the worst in the whole country. And now it's got very little crime.
But it's gone very differently in Minneapolis.
Well, it has. It's the only place.
And now the message is out that Tom Homan is in.
Yeah.
Commander Bovino is supposedly leaving Minneapolis along with some CBP agents. Is this a pullback?
I don't think it's a pullback. It's a little bit of a change. Everybody in this room that has a business, you know, you make little changes. You know, Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. But you have to understand, when I watch some of the people that I've been watching over the last few weeks, These are paid insurrectionists. These are paid agitators. These people are normal, like OG, that, you know, they're incensed about anything.
OG?
How do you get incensed when you go into a state and
Didn't
you're
really
taking
say
criminals
OG?
out? You're taking monsters out, murderers. You know, we had 11,888 murderers let into our country by other countries, by Biden with his open border stupid policy. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. You talk about bad policy. Open borders where people were coming, so the whole world, the Congo, Venezuela, all over the world, they're letting people in from their prisons and they're feeding them into the United States. And they're murderers and they're drug dealers and they're everything else you can think of, every bad name you can think of. And they let them in by the millions. We closed the border. You know, we have nobody.
Right, that's enough. We've heard that a million times. He will say the same. He does say the same things over and over and over and over and over again. People saying he's in a fake environment. He's in some kind of luncheonette, I think is what he would call it. Some kind of diner in Iowa. I think it's a real diner, not a soundstage. He was in a diner in Iowa. Some kind of homey, American-looking diner of some sort. The main thing he said there was that Bovino is kind of out there and maybe wasn't the best guy to send into Minnesota. So he's tacoing. Taco. He says we're going to de-escalate here.
So they had good crime numbers, believe it or not. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else. And we're going to de-escalate a little bit. But I will notice.
He said we're going to de-escalate a little bit with Tom Homan, who's apparently a lot more sensible, who Obama liked. So they sent in the more sensible guy who's still kind of crazy. So that's Taco, right? We're going to de-escalate, which a lot of people don't like. A lot of people, like probably the Tim Pools of the world, want to see the protesters like rounded up like cattle and sent to concentration camps, basically. Which is not what's going to happen. A lot of people were hoping that he would have the insur. A lot of like sadists and revolutionaries were hoping for the Insurrection Act. We're hoping that these leftists on the streets would get rounded up, like I said, like cattle and put in concentration camps, which is not what's going to happen. So that's a taco. Mayor Jacob Fry says the president agreed the present situation can't continue. The president agrees that it can't continue. President doesn't like seeing people get killed. We respect him for that. This is Nick Sortor saying that his reporting is that the situation has changed. That's part of the taco. We are no longer going to go after apparently illegal aliens who are not bad hombres. That's the story.
One of the stories that I've unfortunately been hearing this morning is that Border Patrol agents have now been given new orders not to, for example, if they were to run a license plate and it comes back as that person is an illegal that Border Patrol was forced to let into the country under Joe Biden, they are no longer allowed to arrest that person.
And is this
even
the first
though they
time?
know for a fact that they're illegal?
Is this new information that you're just bringing to light right now? That these new orders? Okay. And I don't want you to reveal your sources, but you have someone who you trust on this. You believe this is a matter of official, actual approach and policy now.
This actually came from two separate Border Patrol agents on the ground in Minnesota. They're very, very frustrated. Obviously, they feel like one of them actually said that this feels like we just reverted to the Biden days. One of the stories that.
So there you go. That's the taco, which I think is. I think it's probably important to de-escalate, especially if he wants to have any chance to win, because independents are so upset about what they've seen. Ideally, in this reporter's opinion, is my opinion important. Ideally, I guess getting rid of all illegal immigrants would be ideal, especially if we're going into a communist dictatorship ruled by machines. having American citizens receive all of the benefits from that is good. But that's not even what Trump wants. It's not even what Trump said he wants. He wants to have farm workers. He wants to have construction workers, I think. He wants to have hotel workers in particular. So here is a quote from a White House source. The goal is to scale back, eventually pull out, reported by Reuters. And the White House is saying their demands all have to do with criminals, which was the original promise, that we're going to go after criminals. So they changed that strategy, implemented a much more aggressive strategy where they went over not just criminal illegals, but also just regular illegals, and also legal illegals, like as in people who are actually here legally under justification that just Donald Trump didn't like, or maybe Stephen Miller didn't like. They've actually been going after a number of legal immigrants where they just didn't like their legal status and wanted to find ways to kick them out anyway. Apparently, it all has to do with Stephen Miller's idea of demographic change. Like he wants to make, I think that Republicans can't win if we don't change the demographics. But I actually think foreigners are willing to vote Republican, actually. In many cases, the Hispanics did this last time. I think there are many foreigners who can be convinced to vote Republican if you're sane. But in any case, the demands are to turn over all incarcerated or active warrant criminal illegal aliens, transfer all criminal illegal aliens, assist federal authorities in detaining criminal illegal aliens wanted for crimes, and Democrats must work with the federal government in rapid removal of all criminal illegal aliens. So that's the new strategy, which is the old original promise. Rather than rounding up people at Home Depot, rather than busting people working in Mexican restaurants, to actually go after criminals, which actually Tim Walz said they were already doing. I don't know if that's true or not, but Tim Walz claims they were already turning over people from their prisons. So not sure. Another thing that's going to upset some people on the harder side of the right is that the DOJ has withdrawn the arrest warrants for Don Lemon and the church protesters because a judge refused to sign off on it, which is because I don't think they were actually breaking any laws. Apparently, in order to really break the law as far as churches go, you have to impede the entrance. Like you actually have to stop people from coming in or leaving, which Don Lemon didn't do. And I don't think the protesters did either. So they just don't, it was probably illegal, just stupid what they did when they did that church thing. So that's something that's going to upset people who want to see more arrests. And there are many comments underneath it of people who are upset that they're not arresting Don Lemon. But I don't think Don Lemon broke any laws because we have this freedom of speech thing. All right. Do you want Jewish news? Some Jewish news? It's Holocaust Remembrance Day today. It's Holocaust Remembrance Day. We must remember the 6 million, and it must be the worst event in human history. And according to them, you must not ever compare it to anything else happening contemporaneously. Those are all things you cannot do, or you are anti-Semitic. You must not question the number. You must not lump it in with all of the other people who died, saying it was all bad. It has to be specifically the 6 million Jews who died was the worst thing that ever happened in human history. You can't compare it to the millions who died during the communist revolution in China. You can't compare it to the millions who died under the Bolsheviks, which were many more millions. You can't compare it to Christian Holocausts. You can't compare it to what's happening in Gaza. You can't say that Israel is acting like Nazis. Please, especially on Holocaust Remembrance Day. Just remember those things. You can't question the number. You can't compare it to anything else. You must say it was the worst ever. Those are all things that are important on this day, Holocaust Remembrance Day. At least we live in America, but you can say those things actually legally in America. You can do whatever you say, whatever you want, but you can lose your job. Here's Germany, where you can't say things because they'll arrest you.
Why?
Say the river sentence, please.
I didn't
Don't say it.
I just say from the river, but not from the river, please.
You said that 2 times. Please stop it. Otherwise, we have to arrest you again.
Okay.
Yeah? Please stop it.
So what shall I say?
Not this sentence.
To the beep.
No, don't say that. It's forbidden. The sentence is forbidden. Don't say it.
And we get arrested.
Yeah, I don't want to do it, but it's forbidden in Germany, and I have to arrest you.
You can't say from the river to the sea in Germany because they have to arrest you because you're calling for another Holocaust if you say that. All of the people who were arrested or deported, that we're deporting people who are here legally who said things like from the river to the sea. That's one of the deportations we're doing to people who have green cards or are here legally. We declared them illegal because they said things like from the river to the sea or free Palestine. Very anti-Semitic to say. TikTok is apparently under massive censorship. That's what the liberals are mostly reporting. They're saying you can't say bad things about Trump anymore on TikTok ever since Larry Ellison took over a few days ago. So under the Chinese, ironically, we had free speech, but not under the Zionist American Larry Ellison. So people are saying TikTok is dying, and they're saying that uninstalls are maxing out, and they're saying that people are using new apps like Upscrolled. I read an article about that. Upscrolled, whatever that is. So people are going to different apps, especially liberals who want to criticize Trump. But I also criticize Trump. Or they're saying that the word Epstein is banned on TikTok. Like you can't direct message anybody. You can't even direct message people on TikTok now with the word Epstein. So here's the guy that's the new CEO of TikTok.
We made a change to designate the use of the term Zionist as a proxy for a protected attribute as hate speech. So if somebody were to use Zionist, of course you can use it in the sense of you're a proud Zionist, but if you're using it in the context of degrading somebody, calling somebody a Zionist as a dirty name, then that gets designated as hate speech to be moderated against. Over the course of 2024, we tripled the amount of accounts that we were banning for hateful activity. We also have, I think, over 24 Jewish organizations that are constantly feeding us intelligence and information when they spot violative trends. There is no finish line. There's no finish line to moderating hate speech, identifying hateful trends, trying to keep the platform safe. There's no such thing as an end game. We made a change to...
There you go. That's the new boss of TikTok. So yeah, Upscrolled, Carly, thank you, is apparently founded by a Palestinian. That's right. That's right. So that's true. Yeah, the Democrats don't like Israel. The day that Alex Preddy was killed, there was a protest on the corner near me in my California town where I was. And it was actually for Palestine still. They're still protesting for Palestine. the liberals. But young Republicans don't like them either. Don't like them either. Israelis. Here's an Israeli talking about how Americans should be targeted with psychological warfare. Let's listen to that.
Why can't Israel be doing some sort of, counterintelligence, information warfare like this, where they are actually doing the same type of, like a psychological operations in America, where they're actually trying to penetrate, communities that do share their values and get them to recognize that. I feel like this is just going to be like clipped, and I'm just going to be, somebody's going to be like, oh, here's this Zionist Jew admitting that Israel has to infiltrate, Christian conservative communities to try to like pull the strings or control the world. I know, I can just see something like this happening. But let me just give you an analogy. After the Cold War, and this happened throughout the Cold War as well by the Soviets, but after the Cold War, and Trevor Loudon really talks about this a lot, Russia began a very targeted campaign to rebuild its image after the Cold War, right? Because the Soviet was, a leftist entity that looked very, very unfavorable in the eyes of Christians and conservatives in America. And so Russia started targeting in the 90s heavily Christian conservative communities in the States and inviting them to conferences
with agents of influence,
sending liaisons, and essentially saying to them, we're on your side. Russia, we're not the same, we're not the same as we were before. We are proud Christians. We share your values, the same values that you do as Americans. We believe in strong families, and we believe in national pride and local communities, right? And this has had a tremendous impact today on why certain factions of the right, namely like the paleo-conservative and the libertarian spaces of the Rand Pauls and the Pat Buchanans, are so sympathetic to Russia in the Ukraine war, because they actually believe that Russia kind of mirrors America in terms of our values. They have believed the lies about Russia being like a proud Christian country, which we all know is ridiculous. And they believe the lip service that that has been fed to them. So I would argue, why in the world isn't Israel? I mean, look, maybe they are. And if they are doing this, then congrats, because we shouldn't know that they're doing. So hopefully if they did do this, nobody would know, right? But why can't Israel be doing some sort of, counterintelligence, information warfare like this, where they are actually doing the same type of, like a psychological operations in America, where they're actually trying to penetrate, communities that do share their values and get them to recognize that, right? Because I just don't understand, when we're up against these enemies with these incredible capabilities in this age of info warfare and the internet, I don't understand why Israel and America, frankly, would not be utilizing the same tactics as our enemies have.
Right. Because then we turn into our enemies. That's why. There's a reason, but that's okay. But Russia did it, and they fooled some people. So we need to do, I don't know. That's a crazy argument. So that's our Jewish news for today. Oh, I have more kind of Epstein related news. This is a North Carolina representative being interviewed by somebody on the street about why we're not releasing the Epstein files.
Why do you think Donald Trump is fighting so hard to not release the Epstein files?
I don't know.
Yeah. Was it? Did you find that odd that he said he was going to release it, and then immediately was like, we're not releasing them?
Would you want your name brought up? He probably had some, I don't know, he probably had some friends that were involved in it, and he saved them, a lot of trouble.
Do you think that's a presidential thing to do?
Well, if you go through history and look, many more presidents have favored their friends and favored their family. I mean, everybody does that.
Is that how the president should be acting, protecting rich and powerful people over victims of sex crimes?
Every president does it.
Every president hides sex crimes.
John F. Kennedy,
Okay.
but he got caught,
Right. Well, John F. Kennedy was having affairs, but I don't know that there were crimes.
and he got caught.
Okay.
But that's not very becoming of a United States president, right?
Right. So the answer, you don't agree with Donald Trump on that, on protecting powerful people over the victims of crimes.
All depends on who the powerful people are.
Shouldn't the presidents be taking care of all Americans and not just people with lots of money?
I'm not a rich and powerful person, so it didn't interfere with me. It doesn't bother me about what them people want to do.
Yeah.
I got to pay up for what I do.
And could you tell me your first and last name and no, why not? And where you represent?
No.
No?
Mm.
Why? You're a state senator here? State representative. Okay.
That's why.
But you said you work for the state. You're a representative official.
I do.
Okay. So why are you showing me a badge?
Because I have it.
Okay.
And I work for them, my country.
Right. But you are an elected official right now, right? Okay. Certainly an odd interview there. But the moral of the story.
Nice, huh? Yeah, protect your friends. All right. Finally, I have a little more economic news. This is how we are closer to the end. Oracle, actually owned by Larry Ellison, who we were just talking about, is the company everyone is talking about going out of business because of the AI bubble. It's not fake, but they're spending money they don't have. Oracle is the canary in the coal mine, and Larry Ellison might lose the business. And that might be why he's buying so many things, probably selling stock to do it. This is the credit default swap price chart compared to the .com crash, which is on the left, compared to the COVID crash, which is smaller than the current AI bubble. Credit default swap. That's what people buy when they think somebody might go completely kaput. So that's your sign that we are close to the end. Which, yeah, I am not buying stocks. Not buying stocks. They might go vertical. Who knows? Hyperinflation, everything might go up, but I think stocks could, and particularly AI, like OpenAI is going to go under, in my opinion. So here is one more person talking about that and the dollar and where we are. And it's the end.
The area of recklessness is the spending of governments around the world, who are all, with little exception, all spending well beyond their means. That's the recklessness of this moment in history. This is not a parallel to the 1920s in terms of the recklessness of the private capital markets. It's a story of the recklessness of government spending. Within the private sector, there's a huge question as to where AI will take us. And I was carefully taking notes and listening to what Larry has to say, or to what Madame Lagarde has to say, because this is one of the big issues of our moment. Will AI create the productivity acceleration that is honestly just hoped for in Washington and in the halls of government around the world as a way to overcome the profligate spending that we're currently engaged in? Like the world needs a savior. And the hope is that AI is the savior that we need for productivity. And the challenge with this is it may or may not be. We just don't know yet.
We just don't know yet. I think there's some news about AI. There's a new thing that came out about AI. there's something called Claude Bot. People are buying these. I have one of them. They're buying Mac Minis to run an AI that can run a computer and that is like a person who you can talk to on Telegram, and which just does everything, takes over your computer and can do everything like a person. There's something called Claude Bot, which is taking the world by storm. It's like an employee, I guess. So keep your eyes out for that. But AI, there is some talk about it. We're very close to machines taking over everything. So get ready for that too. But that doesn't mean that's going to save the stocks. Yeah, it's definitely not going to save OpenAI. All right. So anyway, that's the news for today. Like I said, buy some gold, maybe buy some silver, buy some Bitcoin if you like that too. And just make sure you're prepared for hyperinflation because the dollar is dying, it seems like. Let's take a look. Let's just give you the latest update on everything. Gold is at 51.89. Silver is at 113. And the dollar is still falling. It's still falling. It's under 96 right now. So get ready for it. All right. And I'll be back tomorrow. Let me check my coffees. Thanks, everybody who supports the show by going to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. Jewel bought a coffee. Thank you. A weekly coffee. Thank you. Weekly coffee incoming, says Jewel. Thank you, Jewel. And thank you for your comments today. Appreciate it. Jacqueline Tailant bought 3 coffees and said, thanks for your insight on the financial markets. Well, thank you. We'll continue to cover it. It's one of my favorite topics. It's not always the best for the algorithm, but I'm glad you appreciate it. Thank you, Jacqueline. I appreciate you. Thanks for those coffees. I will turn those into real coffee tomorrow. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, 4 p.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. It's the Lift the Veil experience. Thank you for joining me today, and we'll see you tomorrow. For now, that's what it is.